Forget about the mirror. The mirror is to practice for a few minutes. Then you have to dance. When you have to dance, there are no mirrors. There's an audience. There are people watching you. They want to feel what you're doing. You want to give them love, you'll get love back from them. If you give them this, they're going to give this back to you. Okay? What she did was, as soon as she felt the music, she did this. Okay? Okay. It's called rocking. You rock to the beat. You rock the crowd. You rock the floor. You rock the house. Okay, that's where it comes from. You rock force crew, rock steady crew, ready to rock. This is the rock, okay? It's the basis of everything that we do in street dance. This is what you do as soon as you hear music. Now, clap on beat. This is the beat. 1, 3, 5, 7. Okay, that's the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You always clap on 2 and 4. That's the snare. But you don't dance to the beat. This is the beat. 1. That's not the groove. Okay, this is just the beat. Anybody can do this. What you're missing is this. In between the beat. That's the groove. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. That's the natural, your body's natural way of syncing with the music. Because everything is in that. The melody, the horns, the bass is all in 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. So when you ask, or when somebody asks you, what is the groove? That is the groove. Now in hip-hop, everything comes from that. So, get this on camera. If it doesn't have the groove, it's not hip-hop. Please call it something else. Because it's all based on the music. The music is the glue that brings everything together. You know, hip-hop is a culture, it's not a dance. It's a culture. Spoken word, music, art, and dance. Spoken word being rhythm and poetry, what we call rap. Art being graffiti. The music being provided by the DJ. That's the DJ's job, to make you do what? Dance. The DJ brings everybody together in one house, in one building. That's what hip-hop is. So, that's what you need to keep in mind when you think of hip-hop. It's a culture. It's the reason why. Who plays for the New York Yankees? But you got a Yankee hat, right? That's hip-hop. Okay? It's the reason he has on a Yankee hat. He doesn't know who plays for the New York Yankees, but he got a Yankee hat. Okay. Exactly. The Yankees didn't make it cool. Hip-hop made it cool. Yeah. Okay? So that's my point. You want to stay inside the music. The dancer's job is to express what the music makes you feel. So when she started doing this, you guys automatically started doing this with her. And when she started to clap, you started to clap. Because you connected to her through the music. Now if she wasn't doing this, and she was completely off, somebody else would have been like, what the hell is she doing? Okay? Because that's what happens when you're not connected to the music. The music is the most important thing in dance. You know, well, in street dance. I can't speak for contemporary. They dance to violins and stuff. No thinking. You don't think when you dance. You dance, then you think about what you just did. Okay? If you think, then your body doesn't know what to do. Because when your body hears the music, it automatically knows to do this. When you start thinking, it's like, what the? Okay?
is just like fighting. If you fight, you're not going to think, you don't think, okay, I'm going to punch, kick, block. Because while you're doing that, I'm going to punch, and you get knocked out, okay? So you don't think, feel. The music says move. The beat tells you what to do, okay? The music moves you. You don't move the music, okay? The music does this, and you do this with it, and then you do this. Then everybody that's watching you do this feels this, and they start, and they do that. Soon everybody's doing this, okay?
Good. It goes all the way back to gladiators and arenas and fighters. They didn't fight because they won the hand race, they won the women.
They did it because the guy that's dancing really good, all the girls are watching him. If you can dance better than him, all the girls are watching you. That's where the battle comes from. I want to be better than him because she likes him. I want her to like me, not him. I gotta beat him. The B-boys danced to the break. They waited for the part in the song that they got excited to, and they could show their skills. And that's when they started breaking. They didn't just break immediately, like get the jam and go crazy and start doing spins. And no, you dance with the ladies. Okay? You can't dance, the ladies don't want to watch you. They're going to go find a guy who can dance, like me. From the 70s all the way, b-boying starts in the early 70s. By the late 70s, 1978, 79, b-boying started and died. We who came from that era, from that time, myself and a few others, we didn't have anything to do. When we went to the club, you couldn't dance like that. Because now in the club, the girls don't want to see you dance on the ground. They don't want to see you pop. They don't care about that. They want you to dance with them again. So, the dance changes. The music changes. Now we're not dancing to just breaks. Now you have rap music. You have the rappers not just talking to the crowd, now they're talking through the crowd. They're talking to the beat. And they have actual rhymes and words, and they have a connection. Now the rappers are making records, and they're making records that have dances to go with the record, like the WAP, like the Happy Feet, like the Smurf. So those are the dances that we're doing now. We take those dances and we mix them together. But since we're still b-boys and poppers and lockers, we took all of that stuff and mixed it with these dances too. But we're dancing to rap music, and that is the reflection of what the culture is at that time. So we call the dance hip-hop, because that's what we dance to. We don't dance to breaks. We don't do all of this stuff when they play breaks. When they play breaks, we're breaking, okay? When they play hip-hop music, we're doing hip-hop, okay? That's why it's called hip-hop. But it comes from b-boy, okay? Direct correlation. Case in point, the b-boys do this step like this. They lean away. The hip-hop dancers do it like this. We lean into it. It's the same step, okay? It's the same exact step. You're still doing like this. Only b-boys go like that, and the hip-hop dancers go like that. And we gave the step a name. We called it toss it up. Toss it up, okay? That's the only difference. But one comes from the other. It's no difference. They're one culture, okay? There's too much separation. People want you to think that everything should be in this nice little box. Popping is here, locking is here, b-boying is here, hip-hop, whacking. Okay, are you a popper? Go in this box. Are you a b-boy? Go in that box. But you're forgetting popping, b-boy, locking, hip-hop, whacking, whatever you call it. Before it's those things, it's one thing. Dance. You have to learn to dance first before you can do any of those other things. And the dance is fairly simple. You and the music must do this. If you don't do this, then the girls are not interested in you. And neither are the other dancers. If you do this, we laugh. look at him, he's whack. And we dance. But if you do this, then everybody else does this with you. And now you have a community. You have people coming together. You know, hip hop as a culture is different than politics. Politics does this. Hip hop does this. Okay? Hip hop brings all of those things together and says we are one big thing. Politics separates those things and says, no, this is this and this is that, and you can't put them together. We are not politicians. We're dancers. We don't listen to what politicians say. So now you have the middle of the 1980s into the late 1980s. Now you have you have clubs now. In the early 80s you had clubs that played multiple kinds of music. You could go to a club, you hear pop music, you hear disco, you hear hip hop, you hear breaks, you hear a style of music called freestyle, it's like Latin, electronica. You hear all kinds of music in the club. But as the 80s go in, toward the middle of the 80s, now you have clubs that just play hip hop. They don't play anything else. So if you want to go to a hip hop club, you go to this place and that's all you're going to hear all night. Different kinds of hip hop. And you're going to be people in the club going crazy. But towards the end of the 80s, those clubs all closed because hip hop became dangerous. You know, you had too many gangsters, too many drugs, too many fights, and it cost too much money to keep the club open because people are getting hurt. So they closed all the hip hop clubs. So where do all the hip hop dancers get to go? They go back to the mixed clubs, the clubs that play multiple kinds of music. And then there were some clubs that only played disco and house music. And then there were clubs that played, you know, pop, disco, and house, but they became primarily house music clubs. And you had all of the hip hop heads started to go to the house clubs. Now in the house music club, you had dancers already there. You had a whole culture already present that danced to disco and to house. They had the hustle, you had voguing, you know, you had lofting, which is basically the same as b-boying, but done to disco, not to breaks. And you had all of this stuff in the club, and then here come all the hip hop kids. Because we have no hip hop club to go anymore. So we have to go to these clubs if we want to dance. And when we get there, we see all of these other dancers, and we come and because that's what hip hop is. The b-boys, all the hip hop dancers, this is what I'm telling you, it's one culture. Because the hip hop kids all came in with their hat to the back and their backpack and their pants hanging low, and you go in the house club and you're looking around like, what is this? You know, you got all these strange people, but the music is rocking. So you start to rock and you start to learn what's in the club, and then you show what you brought with you, which is hip hop. And that's where you get the mixture of all of these dances, and that's where you get house from. House dancing is a mixture of all these other things in the club when the hip hop kids met the house kids and the disco kids and the lofting kids, and we did this. And we became one culture. Again, you know, it seems like everything should be separate, but it's not. It's all one thing. Because everybody's doing what? Dancing. Okay? Doesn't matter the music changes, the dance changes. But it's still dance. Okay? Just like you can change places, countries here in Europe. You're still all the same. You're still human, okay? There's black, white, Asian, Arab, Muslim. No, it's a human race, okay? You know, there are no races, there's one race. It's called the human race. Before you separate all these things, you start at one point. It's the same thing in music. You dance, then you do the stop. The late 80s into the early 90s, now you have everybody together in these clubs. The house music is rocking. And then, because house music is rocking, you got the hip hop kids now not only dancing to house, but rhyming to house. You have rap records called hip house now. And hip house is popular. And then dance music is popular with rappers vibing over dance music. And then, you know, the rappers took the beats and they started speeding them up. Rap got faster and you had all these rappers with, you know, breaks again and fast music and rhymes, and all of this stuff changed the way the culture goes. So now into the mid-90s, well, let's play the music first so you'll understand. In the early 80s, you had music like this. We start with this. Then in the mid-80s, when we finally get from the breaking era to the freestyle hip-hop era, we got beats like this. The music changed. The rock didn't change. We still rock the same way. Just change the way the step is executed. But it's still the same step. Still the same culture. So now you move from the mid-80s to the late 80s. And then into the 90s. And the music speeds up. You get something like this, where you have rappers bringing breaks back.
Let it roll, get it roll. I just can't hold back and fold, cause I'm a man of soul. In control and effect, so what the heck? Rock the disco Texas, this room is what next.
So now you got the music going faster again. Then you get, you know, you have mixing hip hop and R&B, you know, and now you got what they call New Jack Swing. But this isn't until the late 80s, early 90s. And then you start mixing it and you get this. So now the music is fast again. It's a melody again. It's a groove again. And there's that beat. Where's that beat come from? James Brown. All goes back to James. So now, you move to the middle of the 90s. Music is fast. Got the groove, you got the breakers back. What happens? Here come the B-boys. Rocksteady is like, we're back. And when Rocksteady came back, everybody came back. Now by the end of the 90s, again you have hip-hop clubs, you have house clubs, but in the hip-hop clubs now, they're not playing this music again by the late 90s. The music is slowed down. The music has changed again. Now you got gangster rap. And gangster rap is not made for you to dance. It's laid back and it's made for you to drive to. So now the B-boys don't got nothing to dance to. The hip-hop dancers, we can rock to that, but you know, you only can rock for so long time. 1, 2. I mean, it's fun in the club, and you get your drink on and you dance with a girl, and then after an hour, if you want to dance hard, you can't. So now the B-boys want to dance, they start going what we did again in the early 80s. I mean, in the late 80s and the early 90s, now the end of the 90s into the beginning of 2000, the B-boys and the hip-hop dancers go back to the house club. Now you got everybody again in the house club, and now the B-boys are watching the house dancers. And they're seeing that the house dancers got this whole thing that they do with their feet. And they got footwork. They got tops. And the B-boys are like, oh shit, I got top rock too. I can mix that together. So now you got B-boys saying, I don't need to just dance on the ground. I can dance up top. And the house dancers, looking at the B-boys, remembered, oh, lofting. We got moves on the floor too. So now you have this convergence of the styles all over again, which brings everything together in one place. And in New York City, you had a gentleman by the name of Brian Green, and he started a party called the House Dance Conference. And in the House Dance Conference is 2 floors. One floor, you have funk and hip hop. The other floor, you have house music and disco. Those are the 4 pillars of the music that we dance to. And in these clubs, in this one club, first Thursday of every month, every dancer goes. So now the B-boys are in the club with the poppers, and the lockers, and the whackers, and the voguers, and the hip-hop dancers, and the B-boys. We're all in one space. We all get out, all of the kinds of music that we all dance to is in one place. And you get to dance, but now, the B-boys are not waiting for the breaks to dance. They can go downstairs and dance the house. They can come upstairs and dance the hip-hop. They're gonna hear 90s hip-hop, they're gonna hear new hip-hop, they're gonna hear Jay Dilla, they're gonna hear Tribe Called Quest. They got all of these sounds to dance to. And now the poppers don't have to wait for just Planet Rock or, you know, looking for the perfect beat or Zap. Now they're hearing G-Funk and they're hearing hip-hop and they can pop to it. So now you got the poppers dancing to hip-hop, the B-boys dancing to house. And then everybody finally starts to see it's one culture. It's all one thing. You know, it's one culture and you can dance to whatever. And now you got B-boys learning different styles. Poppers learning that there's more to dance than just popping. Lockers learning, oh, we don't have to just lock to locking music. We can lock to hip-hop too. You know, you got whackers whacking to house now. Not to, you know, disco. So that made the culture grow and made everyone realize that the culture is one culture. You have hip hop on the West Coast, on the East Coast, and you have the funk and disco culture of the West Coast that Pop and Pete call funk styles. And these two cultures grew simultaneously at the same time. And they all come from one point, James Brown.
All styles is bullshit. Okay, let's be clear here. It should be called open styles.
Okay.
Not all styles. First of all styles means all styles. But you don't have all styles in these battles because, you know, everybody can't do all styles. What you're having is a b-boy versus a locker or a crumper versus a popper, which is a style versus style battle or an open styles battle. All styles means you can do all styles. Now, shameless plug, I have an event. It's called Step Your Game Up. And we have an all styles battle. But guess what? The styles are on a wheel. We put a bunch of styles on the wheel spinning. And whatever style it stops on, you have to battle in that style. And we play the accompanying music to go with it. And every 20 seconds, the wheel spins. So if you're a b-boy and it stops on dance hall, I'm saying, so that's an all styles battle where you're required to actually be able to do all styles. It should be called open styles. Now, as he was saying, these are all just labels. They're meaningless, okay? The music counts, and the music has a dance to go with it. So if you play, you know, funk, now there's different kinds of funk. The Earth, Wind & Fire plays funk. You know, Kool and the Gang has funk. You have P-Funk, which is Parliament Funkadelic. You have Zap. You have G-Funk. You know, you have all kinds of different kinds of funk. It's a terminology that Pete came up with just to, you know, clarify the West Coast styles of dance and where they come from. Because with these labels, you'll have, you know, media just say, you know, everything is hip-hop. You know, vlogging is hip-hop. Oh, that's hip-hop. Whacking, oh, that's hip-hop. You know, crumping, oh, that's hip-hop. When these styles have their own history, their own, you know, paradigm, you know, and that's what Pete was trying to do. Now, for a while it worked, but then over time it created more confusion because again, you have b-boys who dance to funk too, you know, and then you have the greatest funk of all time, which is James Brown. Now, James Brown, you can pop to it, you can lock to it, you can break to it, you can whack to it, you can do hip hop to it, you can do house to it, but is it funk? Yeah, it's funk. So, is it funk styles? No, you know. So these are just labels, just like old school, middle school, and new school. Okay, because if you call something old school, like I remember years ago, you know, they were telling us we were the middle school. We were the bridge between old school and new school. Well, that was 25 years ago. So are we still in the middle? And if we're not in the middle, or we're old school, then breaking was what came before us. Are they older school? If locking's older than breaking, so is that the oldest school? Okay, salsa's older than locking, and rocking is older. I mean, rocking and locking are older than breaking, but salsa's older than that. Lindy hop's older than that, so is that the prehistoric school? Jurassic school? The Big Bang School? How far back do you want to go? It starts to get ridiculous. So that's why you only use these labels, you know, as a reference point. And then once you have an understanding of the reference point, get rid of it. Because once you go down that road, then it becomes a longer explanation and more exposition, and it becomes ridiculous. You know, so just if they're interested, you know, I don't mean to be blunt, but fuck funk styles. Just say popping, locking. Just give them the specific of the style and let them find out. Because, okay, funk styles is nice, but I've seen some poppers get off to house music, you know, to electronic music. I've seen poppers dance to you know, dance hall. That's how you got flexing. You know, so different music inspires different movement. And if you lock into, you know, one piece of terminology, then it kind of becomes redundant over time. You know, so, you know, it was just, again, that was originally Papa Pete's idea to, you know, give the history and separate the West Coast art forms from the East Coast art forms, because not everything is hip hop. Hip hop is breaking, you know, freestyle, and now light feed. All that other shit is street dance.